All right, thanks everybody and welcome back. Let's give everybody a couple more seconds to come back and we will start the main program. Also wanted to let you all know, Tanya and I are actually in Arizona in Phoenix. Monday was National's very first in-person event for the last 2 years. It was our National Leadership Academy, and we had about 150 women from across the country, NAWBO members from across the country come here, and we had a fantastic program. And our next in-person national event is Advocacy Days, which is actually in our backyard. We're going to have NAWBO members from across the country come to DC and go to Capitol Hill and meet with lawmakers and government officials.
The lawmakers will be coming to us this year. Capitol Hill won't let us visit them.
Oh, okay. So we'll be at the hotel and they'll be coming to us.
Mhm.
It's June 7th and 8th. So please plan to participate in that. It's super fun and very impactful. And, you know, anybody who knows anything about NAWBO's history knows about our tradition of advocacy and advocating on behalf of women and small business owners. So we're looking to continue that tradition this year in June. So Tanya, can you pin the other panelists and we can program started?
Yep.
So we'll have a panel discussion and then save about 15-20 minutes at the end for Q&A. So feel free to put your questions in the chat or wait till the end and just unmute yourself and ask them if you want to discuss. All right. So first, thank you all so much for joining us today. We are very excited to have this panel on learning the secrets of success of high growth businesses. Let me ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves, tell us about their business and how they got started. So Linda, I'll start with you.
Thanks. So my name's Linda Rabbit and I am the founder of Rand Construction Corporation, which I founded in 1989 with a young man named Mark Anderson. So Rabbit and Anderson became Rand. And I thought it looked great on a job sign. And it reminded me of the Rand Corporation and Sperry Rand, and it sounded so smart. So this was my second construction company. I started my first one in 1985, which was called Hart Construction. In the 32 years of Rand Construction, we have grown from 7 people to almost 300. We're in 5 cities and we're getting perilously close to 500 million in revenue.
Fantastic. And what kind of construction do you focus on?
So we do commercial interiors. So all of the offices that you go to, you could hire us to build out your office space. And we started, our clients tend to be, so we only do the insides of commercial buildings. We don't take buildings out of the ground. And we do capital improvements for developers, new lobbies, new bathrooms, that sort of thing. So we're very specialized. And the reason that we decided to grow geographically is because we wanted to stay in our niche. And, that was the only option for us to grow. We didn't want to do M&A. We wanted to grow organically, and that was a good way to do it.
Yep. All right, Lisa, please introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, Molly. Super excited to be here. I co-founded Maven. There was 2 of us in my sunroom about 12 years ago. And Maven is a national security-based firm supporting technical and knowledge-based services for the Departments of Justice, Homeland Security, and the Department of Defense. I'm doing this about 12 years. Prior to that, I bounced around as a government employee and a contractor from smalls to larges and figured I could do it on my own. And we started with 4 of us. Actually at a bar, because all good stories start in a bar. And this year we will close at having well over 500 people and assets around the world. We're in about 30 states and multiple countries. And I love every day of it. Well, except for proposal writing days, but I love all the other days.
All right, and Penny.
Hi, I'm Penny Benkesser. I own ServPro franchises, and ServPro, for those of you who aren't familiar, we do fire, water, mold, biohazard cleanup. And I also have a construction company that helps put it all back together again. I've been in business, this May will be 10 years, but I came to entrepreneurship via corporate America. So I worked for Bank of America for 17 years prior to starting the business. And my husband is my business partner. He worked for the bank for 20 years. So I started it alone, ran it for 3 years until it ran over me. And then he joined me, and we've been business partners ever since. We started with one franchise, 4 employees. We're doing about 400,000 a year and in decline. The guy who owned it was kind of a rough go. So a bit of a turnaround effort there. And this year we should do between 18 and 20 million.
Fantastic. And you've grown in that you have 9 franchises now, is that correct?
Yes, we have 9 franchises in North and South Carolina, and a construction company that is also in North and South Carolina.
Fantastic. Okay, so the first question is, what did you wish you had known when you started your company? So I'll start with Lisa.
Of course. After listening to these two, it's intimidating to go. I wish I'd have known how often you're wrong, right? Like, I have been wrong so many times, and I thought it was a failure, and none of them really were. And I think you have to be okay with being wrong or failing or losing a bid or doing anything else. And you don't get down in the dumps. I mean, you have a glass of wine, you call a girlfriend, you get over it and start it again the next day. But it was amazing. It's very humbling to realize how wrong you are, how often you are.
Okay. Linda, same question. What did you wish you had known when you started?
So I have plenty of faults. I have lots of faults, but one of the faults I don't have is jealousy. And I wish I had known when I started how jealous people could be when I became more successful, and how hurtful that would be to lose friends that I thought were, lifelong friends, just because I had surpassed them in a number of ways. And it was one of my mentors said to me once, there are people that are in your life either for a reason, a season, forever, or they never should have been. Now, my ex-husband would be the one that never should have been, but that helped me think it through. There are some people that are going to just be in your life for a reason and in and out, and some for a season. But I was really surprised by that. I wish I had, because I'm not jealous. If you have something I want, I figure out how to get it for myself. I'm not mad at you.
Okay, great. Penny, same question.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. That would not have dawned on me, but I know exactly what that is and experienced that. I was going to go with, I wish I had known not to take things personally. In corporate America, something happened, an employee leaves, or a customer gets upset, you're like, yeah, it's not good, but we'll figure it out, we'll work it out. But when I started the business, if a customer got upset, I was like, I was worried to death about it. The employee left, I took it personally, and I felt offended, and all the rest of that. And then if somebody said, I'm gonna get a lawyer involved, you're like, oh my gosh, just afraid of those kind of things, which now I'm like, do you want to get an attorney involved? Please, we'll get this communication started. So I was so afraid of those things. And now, it's more like water off a duck. Also, probably the hard work. I knew it was going to be hard work, but it's a lot of hard work. And I don't think that would have scared me off, but it was much more difficult, more rewarding too, but certainly much more difficult.
Okay, great. Thank you. Those are all great answers. So the next question is, what advice would you give to a woman starting who's maybe had a business for a while and really wants to grow? What would you tell her What would you tell her to do and what would you tell her not to do? I'll start with Penny.
Well, I was going to try and jot some thoughts down, but we'll just
No.
right off the
Just
cuff
wing it.
here. Yeah, let's just roll with it. I would say if you're not good at delegating, you better learn how to delegate very, very quickly. Hire an HR person if you're really trying to go quickly, somebody who can help you with that hiring. Hire great people, pay people who can scale, because one thing that you'll find out when you scale quickly is your people and processes won't necessarily follow along, and that's really painful. So if you can pay up and hire people who are able to do that, and I know that's a whole nother advanced maneuver, but really, really important in the growth. Get your processes down, benchmark other businesses that are bigger than yours, go and ask them where they failed, what happened, what they put in place. Certainly if you can benchmark other businesses that are like yours or just other business owners who have been there, anything that you can do to learn from their mistakes instead of making them on your own. God knows I made so many, but I would say hire up, delegate, trust your people, get out of their way. You can't scale a business if you are sitting in, if you are working in the business. You got to work on it, and you got to let your people run it if you want to scale.
Great. Lisa.
I would agree with you. It's in versus on. That little preposition is probably the most important preposition in business. It's you work for the business or you work on the business. You can't do both. But remember that you're not an island. You have people around and you have to rely on them, talk to them. You don't have to do what everybody says, but you're obligated to listen. Like, hear what other people have for ideas, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And what got you to a certain place isn't necessarily what's going to get you to the next place. So talk to people, learn from them. And don't think that you have to do it on your own. Join organizations like NAWBO to find other people who've done it well. And it's try another way. Don't get distracted by it, and rely on people, rely on friends, rely on mentors, find mentors.
Great. Linda, same question.
So if you're really going to scale a business, it takes, as the other two have said, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. So if you're really serious about scaling a business, it's really helpful at first to decide what you're going to give up in your personal life and in your professional life. I decided that I was going to be the best mom I knew how to be and the best boss I knew how to be. So I didn't, learn how to play golf, and I didn't read novels, and there were plenty of things that I didn't do. And I just kept very focused on the two things that were really, really important to me. And I have a lot of energy. So, but if you don't have a lot of energy and, you can only, you can't do more than, 3 meetings in a day or make more than one decision a week, scaling up is really not for you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced in growing your business, and how did you overcome it? So Linda, I'll start with you on that one.
Credibility. I'm an English and American history teacher by training with a master's degree in adolescent development, which on job sites generally serves me very well because there are a bunch of adolescents all trying to prove that they're the biggest, baddest boys in the camp. So credibility was really hard for me because I didn't have a background in construction, and I didn't have a background in architecture. And the way I overcame that was, first of all, making friends with really important people, and then doing what I said I was going to do. There's nothing that succeeds like success. So if you do what you say you're going to do, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, the credibility issue goes away. And then you are the person that the go-to person in your industry for whatever your industry is.
Fantastic. Penny, same question.
It's a tough question. That's one that I have to think on. Certainly credibility is a great one in our industry. It's super, super male dominated. It's very rare I ever come across a woman business owner in my particular line of business. You do from time to time, but it's rare. And so that's a big deal. I'll go with, I'm really not very good at coaching or mentoring people or training people. I don't enjoy it per se. I kind of want you just to know what to do and just go do it. And I'll set clear expectations and I'll hold you accountable, but I don't know that I help you a whole lot. And so my husband coming in the business was a big deal because he's really good at all of that. And then hiring people who could do that because I knew it was necessary and I knew it was not my particular strength. And so that's really, if you want to scale, you've got to let your people do it, but they'll need help. And I'm just afraid of that. I missed that particular piece of DNA, just didn't attach.
That's funny. I just realized that all three of you are in industries that are very male dominated. Construction, defense contracting, and national security and remediation. All three are very.
But honestly, here's a news flash. Most businesses are male dominated, not just ours. Ours are traditionally considered more macho, but honestly, the law business is male dominated, the accounting business, the consulting business, the professional service firms, corporate
That's true.
America.
Yeah, there are a few industries that are more dominated by women-owned businesses, but you're right. The vast majority are male dominated.
So we don't get to, we get to be at the table, but we're just learning how to set the table.
Yeah. All right, Lisa, same question, the challenges.
Absolutely agree with both of them. I mean, there's different challenges every day. But one that I wish I'd have really known and how much it hurt was having the right people at the right stage of your development. And so we've been a rapid growth company. We actually grew 150% in the last year, which was insane in a COVID world, right? But we've been, Inc. 5000 fastest growing 8 years in a row. We'll hit our 9th year this year. But it sucks because you go and you find the person that you think is going to save your world, and then you double your company, and it turns out he was great at 10 million, but he's not good at 20 million. That's what the biggest challenge is that we found is the whole time. And you have to be kind enough to say, hey, I've loved having you here. I know I jumped through hoops, convinced you to quit your very high paying job to come here, but you're no longer the right fit. And it's just awful. It's people that you'd consider friends that no longer speak, and you have to let them go because unless you want to be a lifestyle business. But the decision, I think, for most business owners is what kind of business do you want to be? Do you want to be a high growth or do you want to be a lifestyle? High growth comes with a whole lot of different challenges. And it's making hard decisions where you are going to lose friends, to Linda's point, because of jealousy. And you're not going to be liked by everyone, but you don't need to, as it turns out. You need to be respected in what you do and very good at it. But yeah, I've had some hard ones and people who won't speak to me years later. I have a couple of business partners whom I've lost the friendships with because they were no longer the right fit. And that was, one, very expensive, and two, really hard. I mean, I do a lot to have them back, but I'm not forsaking Maven for that because I believe heart and soul in what we do here and what we do for the government.
Great.
I see both of you nodding, Linda, Penny, and Molly, all other business owners. It stinks.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of leads to my next question, which is, one of the things, and not all of our members have employees. Some grow through using, partnerships with other companies, using independent consultants, but really to have a high growth company, you really need to hire and fire and focus on having a good environment for employees. So what do you think is the most challenging thing about having employees? So I'll start with Penny.
Well, the most challenging thing about having employees is having employees. When I go to do this over again, or when I move on from this, it will be a business with no employees. But I love my employees. I do. I love our team. They're great. But I'm in a service business, and it's all about the people. And when you got all about the people, it's the people every day. It's something else, And so it's navigating. But for us too. It's one of the things that's really hard in my business. Some of the guys who work on our front lines, who are the people in your homes and businesses doing the cleanup, didn't come from great homes with great role models, and they are missing some just just life skills. And it's not just about teaching them things about how to do the job. It's about helping them navigate their lives, their relationships, their family life, their finances, all of that kind of stuff, and trying to provide a forum and coaching, and trying to develop a culture that embraces that and really helps people along. We give a lot of people second chances. I have people who have been in prison, and it's tough, not having that as my background coming from corporate America, learning that this was essential for people. Otherwise you suffer from a lot of presenteeism, people who show up to work, but they can't be present because they have so much head trash going on because of what's happening in their personal lives. And that's been a real challenge for us. And I'm not sure we've mastered anything, but we certainly try to provide a lot of different life skill things for them to help them along. And that's one of the ways our door is always open. We're in our leadership team, door is always open. We'll help you through that, to the degree that we can. And we have cultivated a culture that embraces that.
Right. Now, Linda, you said that your education, being in childhood education, or your background of childhood education, has helped you deal with your employees. Can you elaborate on those challenges that you've had?
Well, actually, I'm glad for all the sociology and psychology classes I had, because, basically when you're a leader, you're also a shrink, because you have to figure out what motivates people, what gets them to work, what excites them, what turns them on, what makes them successful. And when you have to pivot somebody, you have to do it very carefully and with sort of a steady hand. So, as it turns out, in my industry, most guys over 50, let's say, aren't really thrilled about a girl telling them what to do, or being a boss. Guys don't like girls telling them what to do. And that is a challenge for those of us who, started our businesses some time ago. But as it turns out, the younger generations are really way more open-minded and ecumenical in their thinking. And I think that has helped. That has helped a great deal. There are just as many times now a guy goes to take the baby to the doctor as the girl goes to take the baby to the doctor. They've all learned how to partner in ways that help them partner with me in the business.
That's great. How about you, Lisa? Any thoughts?
I'm with Penny. Oh my goodness. Employees are the hardest part of having people have different needs. And I think the conversation has changed a bit because COVID and the pandemic and the work from home and the great resignation has changed it. For us, we've always said the most important thing is culture. I believe you follow the vision, the money will come. And for me, Maven has been a petri dish for business ideas for me. So I love playing culture games. And right now we're actually in the middle of FabFit February, right? Try to get employee engagement, where every week we have a different Fitbit challenge. 1 week is actually Outwalk Me, and anybody who outwalks me gets $20. My business partner has been chasing me around like mad. But it's employee engagement. How do you make people want to stay? Because people don't quit jobs for $5,000 or $10,000. Not typically. Like they stay with the company because they love it. So how do you create that challenge? But how do you accommodate that really high performer who has a really crappy personality? Like, what's the balance there? How about the person with the great personality who isn't producing where you need them to be? It's a constant struggle. And how do you mission first, people always, to quote a longtime military phrase, right? You have to fulfill the mission, but you have to take care of the people. And those are at odds. I mean, and people's problems are constant. And maybe you guys have experienced something different, but it's 90-10. 10% of the people take up 90% of the time.
I'd say 80-20.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
But if I could add one more thing, I'm sorry, go finish.
No, I'd like conversation. So
If I could add one more thing, it's that the hard part about employees is we are all one to many, and they are one. If they see us as the one person, but we have to look at out on a sea of many faces and many needs. And quite frankly, those of us who are on this panel have never actually hit a ceiling. We just keep growing personally and professionally. So it's frustrating, and we don't actually know how to handle when somebody does hit a ceiling in their professional lives, how you talk to them about that. I mean, it's like telling somebody their baby is ugly. How do you tell somebody, Joe or Sue, you're not growing. You're losing your book of business, or you've gone as far as you can go in this field, in this company, in this. I think because we haven't, it's hard to figure out how to maneuver that.
I think
ahead.
that's really, that's a good, I love that. So we say here, we have workhorses and we have racehorses and we have plow horses. And so, you're always cultivating your racehorses and your plow horses. And so we do stay interviews with all of our employees twice a year. The interview is really asking them about, what's going, what are your hopes for your personal life or your professional life, so that we have a sense of what their, what their aspirations are, so that our leadership team can, work with our managers to coach them accordingly. Because the tendency can be, well, they don't aspire to anything more. And it's like, well, that's okay. If they like what they're doing and they're good at what they're doing and they are learning because they're enhancing their skills and that kind of thing, but they really want to stay at the same level, that's okay. They're our workhorses and they're our plow horses, right? We need that. And so it's trying to understand what our employees' expectations are, and they change. Their life circumstances change, and they were on a certain path, and now they really want to be on a different one. And so we're trying to constantly assess that and figure out how we can support them, whichever way they want to go.
Lisa made a comment earlier about, having an employee who was great when you're at a $10 million company, but is not so much when you become a $12 million company. To the same point, as your company grows, you've never managed run a company of the new size. So what are you doing to level up your skills as your company goes from a 10 million to a 20 million to a $50 million company? So Lisa, you want to start with that one?
I love this question, because every time I look at it, I'm like, has the company outgrown me? And I'm always evaluating if I'm the right one to lead the company, because it's become its own thing. And it's not just, oh, it's Lisa. Because I was always the one that would be in there with everybody, and it's hiring the right people, right? And again, I always go back to this: listen to the people around you. I mean, what's the old line? Is you are the conglomeration of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Make sure you have to choose those 5 people really wisely, and you spend most of your time outside of your spouse or significant other, your partner, with the people at work. Those 5 people better be really, really good. And for me, I'm a prolific reader. I have books on my desk all the time. I give them out to the company. And I also run a number of groups where I get information, whether it be an executive book club or just talking to women in my life, or men. I never limit to men or women. It's very, very strong feelings for me on that. Molly can talk about that later. But you have to keep growing. And I use more of the training budget than anybody else does at the company. We give $5,000 as a training budget for everybody, and I give them better bonuses and raises if they use it. I use the highest number of the training budget. So mine are really random training more often than not, but all of it makes you good.
How about you, Linda? How did you level yourself up as your company grew?
Well, first of all, I don't think you can be really successful unless you love being a continuous learner, like Lisa said. I just can't get enough, information. I don't read novels, but I read everything about business that I can read. And I've always had, and it's changed over time and it's upgraded over time. That I mean, it's gotten wider, but I've always had a kitchen cabinet, you know, people that I could go to and that I could say, you know, how did you handle this? How, you know, why is my thinking fuzzy on this? And it's amazing. I have found that the most powerful words in the English language are, I need your help. If you go to somebody wiser than you, or who's done it better than you have done it, or has done it longer than you have done it, and you say, I need your help, I mean, you'd have to be a really horrible human being to not reach back again. And so it takes a certain humility to do that. And I've watched men not be able to do that. And I've watched women be able to do it much better and grow faster as a result of it. It is our humility is a great advantage to us, because if you go to a very successful white male and say, I need your help, will you help me think through this? I'd say 90 times out of 100, that person will, and will give you excellent advice and help you think about something in a way you never even considered.
So the kitchen cabinet, is that like a standard same group of people, or it's just to have having a network of people that you can go to as needed?
And it changes with each level of your company. You know, the people who helped me when I was a smaller company they were great at that. They were great at helping me find people who would work for me with my English and American history background, who were really actually builders. And that I don't have that problem anymore. I have new problems.
Right. Penny?
I think as a leader, what I can do for this company to keep myself relevant and growing is to stay humble and curious, to always check my ego. I think humility is key, and I think curiosity is powerful. I am a continuous learner. I've always been that. I love to read. I read everything I can get my hands on. I read books by people who have grown their business and failed their business, and all kinds of things. And I'm constantly seeking that out from other people. I've asked Molly over and over. Molly is a great resource for books to read, and she and I have been connected in different ways about reading, and always finding different angles and even just nuanced stuff that you don't think can help, but end up helping in strange ways. I listen to podcasts. I read all kinds of stuff. Anything I can get my hands on, I'd love that. We also have surrounded ourselves, what I would say are advisors, obviously having attorneys and CPA and all the rest of that. But years ago, through NAWBO, a group in NAWBO, I also hired an exit strategist. And that team, it's a female male team that run the exit strategy business. They're also brokers. They have become absolutely key to our business. We've had them now for 5 years. We hired them because we were looking at like 10, 12-year trajectory for exit. And so we were 5 years into that, and they're amazing. I mean, always coming up with stuff. They are not afraid to tell us. I mean, they call it like it is. And we meet with them once quarterly. We're now meeting with them monthly because we've just expanded again. So I think having great advisors is really important. And then also groups that are like mastermind groups, forums. EO has the forum group. I'm in Vistage now, and they have a similar thing. NAWBO has mastermind groups, and you're constantly learning and able to ask questions, particularly if you've got women in those groups, or men in the groups who have scaled businesses, grown businesses. You can really take advantage of that. I have learned so much from listening to people experience share in the many forums that I participated in, and always have taken so much away from that. So, just being open and curious, and trying to poke the bear every time you can, learning, just even on things like this, you learn, from Linda and from Lisa and Molly. Obviously, it's, I eat up this kind of stuff. I love to hear other people's experiences and get takeaways from that.
So we're all big readers. So can you name one or two books that have had the most impact on your business? or on you as the leader. So Penny, I'll start with you on that one.
Sure. Well, I will go with what I call my blankie. So in the darkest of night at 3 a.m. in the morning, when things were really scary and my business felt like I feel like it was coming off the rails. Let me just be honest. I love this guy named Ben Horowitz. He is a partner with a guy named Mark Andreessen, and they were famously, they scaled billion-dollar businesses, and now they run a VC firm, Andreessen Horowitz, out of Silicon Valley, and they have quite a bit of notoriety. But Ben Horowitz has written 2 books. The first of which is The Hard Thing About Hard Things that I'll talk about. That's my blankie. And the other is wrote a book on culture, which is amazing. And I think the culture here is probably the largest reason for any success that we have achieved. His book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, it is a tell it like it is. He basically took a lot of blogs that he used to write, and it's an amalgamation of those blogs. But it is so easy to read. It's just a few pages per chapter, but really they're just like chapters or blogs. And he uses kitchen English. It's easy to understand. He's straightforward. He tells it like it is. He talks about the stuff. And I have read some of those passages probably 30 times. They are like, I have it on my Kindle. I have it, I have the hard copy, and it's just red line and dog-eared. Yeah, I dog-ear my hardback books. And I have read them over and over, and I have recommended that book to entrepreneurs, particularly people scaling businesses. He was my solace. He was my comfort in the middle of the night when the fears were raging crazy, because his stuff was way worse than mine. And I'm like, dang, he survived that. He came out of this thing great. And my stuff is way, way, way smaller than what he was facing. And it just always made me feel good.
Okay, awesome. I see both Linda and Lisa also agreed when Penny said The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Both of them went, yeah.
So I sent him a marriage proposal. He hasn't responded. A little awkward. I really did. I sent it to his venture firm. I'm like, hey, yeah.
I'm going to try that. That is excellent advice right there.
I tracked him down. I've tried to find him on LinkedIn. It's my only, I've tried everything. I'm in love with Ben. He is amazing.
Same. He is amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, is there another book besides that one that you would recommend that has had a big impact on your business?
I read a book a week, so that's not
I know
fair.
you do.
I know. I'm really winning biggest dork around. Mindset I give to every single employee. That's one of my absolute mindset, Dr. Carol Dweck. It's, you can do this, basically. It doesn't matter what you come into. In love with her, which is the type of people that I want. And once you hit a high growth phase, my next love is Lencioni. I love all of Lencioni. 5 dysfunctions of a team. I promise the moment you start growing your business and you have more than 15 people, you're going to have problems, and you're going to have the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And I actually structure my offsites on it. And I gave out his follow-on book, Silos, Politics, and Turf Wars, to all of my leadership team, because our offsite coming up is going to be based on. So we have these dysfunctions, we're working through them. Now, how do we break down the silos? And the big thing for me is it's not your people, it's all of our people. So I can do this all day long. I love Team of Rivals by, the Lincoln book. I love, of course, The Tipping Point, because my company's named after it. So I can do this all day long. Email me if you want a book recommendation ever.
All right, Linda, any others that you have found to be impactful?
Well, I can see that we're all on the same track. And you've named some great books. The one that was impactful early on was a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And I give that to my people as they're reinventing themselves or reimagining themselves in their career. And basically, the book, it's a very thin book. It's a very easy read, but it does turn on light bulbs for people the way it's written. And I would highly recommend that. It gets people unstuck. What got you here won't get you there.
Right. All fantastic recommendations. Thank you. And it looks like we're running out of time. So one last question, and that is, what would you say is the leadership skill that is most necessary to successfully grow a business? And I will start with Lisa.
My gosh. Adaptability. It's adaptability, whatever office, whatever environment you're going into, whatever situation. You have to do all of it with a consistent. So let me change that. Adaptability, but it has to be consistent. So I think the most important word a leader can have is consistent. We can't have ups and downs. We don't get the right to do that because we always have to be available to whatever the situation is that we need to adapt to. There's never a surprise about my response to anything here on the floor because I provide consistency. I try to. I fail at it frequently because it's always a work in progress. But being able to adapt to the situation and keeping the consistent response. Nothing should ever be a surprise. If somebody's getting fired, it shouldn't be a surprise. All of that. That's a hard question because there's so many words to use.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
mad at you for making me go first on that one. Not cool.
Someone had to. All right, Linda, you want to go next?
So I think about grit. I think about tenacity. I think about recently I've thought more and more about authenticity. And when you're really authentic, when you really, when you can go to your staff and say, I really messed up on this. Let's all learn from this. I made a mistake. Let's not all make the same mistake. When you can be really authentic about what you've done right and what you've done wrong, it allows other people to do that too. And there's nothing more, I guess, endearing than when people show their real selves, because particularly if they're talented, nice, collaborative people. There's something you want to climb the mountain for that person.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Penny.
This is hard. Wow. I go back to humble and curious. I still stand beside those traits for a leader, but I will add to that you need to show up. You got to be present. You need to do what you say you're going to do. You got to follow through because it's not, not what you say, it's what your actions that your folks are going to really look to. And I think it's really important to articulate a vision that people think that they're part of something greater than themselves and communicate that, stick to it, and really drive that home. So I don't know, 5 or 6. So probably
That's
not.
okay. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to pick just one.
It's hard.
Yes, absolutely. Well, ladies, thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you have too. And I hope that our audience, our members, have gotten a lot out of it. So Tanya, can you unpin and we can go back to the whole group and take some questions? Kathy had a question. Are you speaking both male and female, Linda? I don't know what that was in reference to. So Kathy, can you-
I will just, so when it really struck me when you were talking about in the beginning, what you realized that you didn't expect was the jealousy aspect. And, as a female entrepreneurs, you want the support of that. But I was curious, was the jealousy one-sided? Was it more male or female? Or are these people in the industry? Are these people friends? How did that all come about for you?
So, jealousy is a trait everyone can have. And I think that what surprised me the most was not that the men were jealous, because I was making it look easier. I was taking this macho industry and making it look like if a girl could do it, how macho could it be? But the bigger surprise was women. And I say to women, when I talk to diversity groups, I say, help each other, support each other, be kind to each other, lift each other. Excuse me. And unless and until we all learn to lift each other's boats, the guys know how to do that. They go out on the golf course and they say, oh, Joe, I'm going to help you. And Sam, you're going to help the other one. And we're all of our boats are going to rise. But women are more hesitant to do that. And there's a reason for it. And the reason is that we're so isolated. There's still not enough of us. So if you say, gee, I think Penny should be promoted, and then Penny bombs out, or Sue or Harry, then you're isolated. Well, Linda, you don't know what you're talking about. So that's a long answer, I'm sorry, to a short question, but I expected it from men. I did not expect it from women.
Okay, that's where I was trying to figure it out, and you're absolutely right, because, it's obviously something that I've seen in the past, and it's kind of a continuing dialogue. Why aren't women supporting women to grow and to be a part of big businesses and stuff like that? So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Madeline
Lisa, do you
Albright
have
has
a
one of the
comment?
best. Yeah, Madeline Albright, I think, has one of the best phrases about that ever is there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women.
Yes.
Yeah, love that quote. All right, anyone else have a question? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any of the panelists.
Ladies, this is Genevieve. I want to say thank you, first of all, for all the wisdom that you've shared. This has been phenomenal. As a daughter of 3 generations of entrepreneurs, I can certainly say that I've seen all the mistakes, not all, but many of the mistakes that have been made throughout the generations. Could you just each take a quick moment? Maybe you email us if we don't have time today. Who are your top 3 or 4 key advisors or relationships that help you get to where you are? And that could be, obviously CPA or a tax person is going to be critical, but just knowing who those key individuals are and how you lean on them and help not only lift you up, but lift up a lot of the women that are listening today, and even other NAWBO members that aren't present today. That's certainly, some of us have those connections and some of us don't, and we should, right, figure out who they are so that we don't make critical mistakes 10, 20 years down the pike that could have been avoided. That's my question.
Any of the panelists want to take that question?
Sure. So just, you want to know who we lean on. All right. That's really what your question is.
What advisors are most important to have?
Yeah, Penny,
Sure.
You mentioned your exit strategy person, which is great. And I have somebody, but not everybody is at that point or needs an exit strategy person, right? So other than that, and I'm so glad to hear you have it, who else is key besides that exit financial person?
I would say the forums that I have participated in, the various, I'll call them mastermind groups. I think more people are familiar with that terminology, but other business owners who are in those mastermind groups. And I love it when it's a mix of women and men. Women only, great too, but also good women and mix of businesses. And you can bring issues, and just the learning is amazing. Listening to their experiences, particularly for me, for people who've been there, done that, which was always really helpful, and who have scaled businesses. It was tremendous to hear them respond to, as business owners, we go through so much of the same thing. There's so much, we're more alike than we are different, really. And just learning in those forums in a safe, secure, confidential environment has been, I've been in one almost since I've been in business. And I'm constantly, that's always my go-to.
Great.
Lisa, any thoughts?
Yeah, so your banker, your lawyer, and accountant are the 3 most important people in your life. They keep you out of jail. So big fan of the banker, the lawyer, and the accountant, and they should know your business inside and out. However, for scaling purposes, high growth, I'm going to give a plug to my executive coach. He's been with me for many years, and I think he's made me a better leader. He's made me more adaptable. He's made me more consistent. And now I would tell you he's a friend, a guy named Kurt Andre. If anybody wants his contact information, I think, and he, not only is he my executive coach, I opened him up for everybody in the leadership team of the company to use. And before I hire people now, I have them meet with him to make sure that they'll be a fit both ways. And that has reduced our turnover in the leadership ranks significantly, is having somebody from the outside. I'm like, oh, I like this person. Let's bring them in. And Kurt will be like, this is going to be a nightmare for you. And you're going to be calling me in 60 days saying, how do I politely get rid of him? So huge fan. I love the way he does it. And I listen to him. It's like a professional shrink for businesses.
That's great.
Linda, any other thoughts? Anything you want to add?
For my senior people, I use a company called Talent Plus, and I got their name from Gensler. Gensler is the largest architectural firm in the world, and I do a lot of work with Gensler. And I noticed that some of the things that Gensler does with their leaders were really interesting. So for the senior people, I use Talent Plus. And for myself, it depends on the issue. And I have I've had a front row seat in a lot of really interesting places. I've been very blessed to have done sit on some very interesting corporate boards and done some interesting things. And I don't know, in some senses, I think I can learn something from everybody, either what I want to do or what I don't want to do, who I want to be like or who I definitely don't want to be like. But so, I have accountant friends and actuary friends and consultant friends and or not maybe even friends, but people who help each other. We help each other. And I know that Mindshare and some of those organizations are really, really helpful. I just never did that. I'm sure that they're very, very, like YPO, organizations like that, I know are really, people rave about them.
All right, any other questions for any of the panelists? All right, Kathy?
Okay, one more question is having to do when you were building your team. Did you believe there are so many assessments out there to figure out some of the behind the inner workings of individuals working with teams? So there's the DISC assessments and the colors. And were you a big proponent of using that particular to navigate adding new people to your teams?
Linda, you want to
I
start?
use Clifton. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
I've used DISC before. I've used some 360 models before. It kind of goes back to my teaching model. I like to take tests and grade them, and or give tests and grade them. And I find them very, very useful and very insightful. It could take me 6 months to figure why somebody's stuck or why they're not progressing or why they're soaring like an eagle. And those tests, many of those tests are really most helpful. I've relied on them a lot over the years.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Good.
Lisa, did you have something to say?
We use Clifton Larson. I think it's pretty robust and it helps how they fit in with the team. But I think we cheat because our recruiters are all former special mission unit guys, special operations guys. And we've modeled our recruiting after assessment and selection of special forces units, which is fascinating with behavioral interviewing and whatnot. And that helps with the people that we're bringing into the company is they're all trained in behavioral interviewing techniques that special forces and the NFL uses. Our guys modeled it, and which is really fascinating if you get a chance to look into some of the behavioral interviewing.
Yeah, I'm not going to offer much here. I don't use it. I have looked at different models, and I know a lot of people who use it, and I get why they do it. And it's probably something that we should consider. I think people have to know themselves very well to answer those questions, to take those models, and it's garbage in, garbage out. And I have a little bit of a bias there. We do have interview questions that, and you're interviewed by a lot of people here, particularly at certain levels. And we hire for cultural fit first. That is the absolute number one thing that we do. You have to fit this culture. I don't care how good your resume is. You have to fit in here. It won't work. And so we do a lot of work there that I think does help. And we've our last 20 hires have been on referrals. And so that's really helpful at cutting through some of that and not just cold off the street. You can use headhunters and the rest of it, but still when somebody knows somebody and they can really tell you they've worked with them, they know what they're like, that's really helpful. But I understand the benefit of using all of those different tests. And there's so many. And I know people have a lot of success with that. I just haven't gone there.
Well, thank you.
All right, I think we are out of time, so please join me in thanking our panelists today for a fantastic discussion. All right, ladies, you are all so impressive and so inspirational, and we really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here today to talk to our members. And I will turn it back over to our chapter president, Lisa Nichols, to wrap up.